Hello and welcome to the Filmspeak podcast. My name is Dave.
I'm Amanda, and this is our weekly conversation about movies, except this week we have a very special guest, our first guest ever, Edwin.
What's up, everyone?
Edwin is a coworker of ours, and he also did our amazing logo that we love and that you love too. Let's give it up for Edwin.
Thank you.
So, how was everyone's week?
I'm good. I still am. How are you?
I'm so happy for you.
Great.
I'm also good. I am about to start my spring semester, which I'm nervous and excited for. What else did I do this week? Not really anything that I want to talk about
That sounds exciting.
publicly. Because the rest of it is like health issues, and y'all don't need to know about that. How was your week, Edwin?
My week's been pretty good, just working for the man, you know. But with my free time, I get Amanda's great movie recommendations, and I try to expose my girlfriend to some good movies, and yeah.
Did y'all watch anything good this week?
I try to get her hooked to The Godfather. It almost worked, but I don't know. I might have to try again. I told her she has to watch Godfather 2, and then she'll be hooked. But we watched that, and we watched Motorcycle Diaries, which was pretty cool. She's never seen it, so yeah. Cool.
You should also get her hip to the Godfather 2 video game.
That is 100% true.
Yeah, that game is amazing.
I think
one of my favorites.
I think she'd love it.
Yeah.
Can you shoot people in it?
Oh yeah.
Oh boy,
But, yeah.
can you?
Oh yeah. That game is a roller coaster. Well, did you watch anything good this week?
I did. I watched 2 movies in addition to the one we'll be talking about later. The first one that I watched was the Gong Show movie. It was a cool nostalgia movie. It's there's a game show in the late 70s, early 80s where it was hosted by this guy Chuck Barris, who wore a lot of hats and like had them down over his eyes. I always thought that was cool when I was a kid. But there were a lot of it was almost like the first reality show. It was like a talent show where there were celebrity comedian judges and people would get up there and do their act, and if the judges didn't like it, they would hit a gong and they would have to get off. And there were a couple of like recurring regulars that would come on. The movie itself, the storyline is kind of weak, but it was a good way to show segments that weren't able to be aired on television. You know, for the 70s, they had a little bit higher censorship standards than they do now, but you know, there was still some smut on there. One of the judges flashes the camera, which they obviously couldn't show on TV at the time, and it showed that he got the host got a firm talking to by the powers that be, and he was kind of walking a razor's edge for a while. One thing that I remember about that show when I was a kid was this guy called the Unknown Comic, and he was a stand-up comedian who just had a bag over his head with eye holes and a mouth hole, and he'd just come out and I guess work out comedy. But one joke that he told that was really funny, that obviously they couldn't show on television, he would call the host over and insult him, and the joke was, "Do you like sex?" And of course the host was like, "Yeah." And then he was like, "Do you like traveling?" And the host is like, "Yeah." And the Unknown Comic goes, "Well, then take a fucking hike," which I thought was pretty funny. It was out of nowhere. But yeah, that was an okay movie. It's interesting to watch, but again, it's not. It was released in, I believe it was 81, and it was released in theaters, and it lasted about a week. And I guess people were watching it and they thought, you know, what is this filth and this language? Because times were different then. So it got pulled from theaters fairly early, and it hasn't been released until now on Blu-ray. So it's worth watching just for history's sake, and if you've never seen The Gong Show, it's a nice little slice of the late 70s. I know a lot of people in this room weren't alive then, but I'm 42. I'll be dead in a week. Then the other movie that I watched, the other movie, you never know. It could happen, probably. Who knows? Well, The other movie that I watched is also one that Amanda watched, so we'll probably discuss this. This is a good segue into her movies. I watched Secret Life of Pets.
Oh, yeah.
That was funny.
Which,
Yeah.
oh, you saw that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I thought it was good. I really like Louis C.K.'s voice acting. He's got a great voice for that. Never thought that I would hear him be a dog, but it fits really well.
It does fit really well. He makes a really good dog.
Yeah.
I remember seeing the preview for Secret Life of Pets and being excited to hear that like Louis C.K. was doing it, just because I'm a big fan of his in general.
Yeah, I didn't know it was him until I actually got the movie. But yeah, he did a really good job. However, I think the best voice of the whole movie was Jenny Slate, who played Gidget, I think the
Gidget.
dog. Yeah.
Yeah. A little white Pomeranian.
That's the one that had the crush on.
Yeah,
the
on
main
Yeah.
dog.
Tiny dog. But yeah, I think Jenny Slate has the best voice, followed only by Hannibal Buress, who also did great as a little wiener dog.
Yeah, they had a really great ensemble cast for
Yeah.
this like random animated movie.
Wait, who was the bunny? That was
The bunny was Kevin Hart. Yeah.
I thought he was funny as hell.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was a really good character. I mean, all the characters were good. Even the Bobby Moynihan bulldog guy, he was cool. And so, but yeah, I watched that. I thought it was good for a kids movie.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I think the more that I think about it, the more I'm like, oh, I liked it. I definitely wasn't expecting to like tear up at it, but I definitely did when the like big dog found out that his like original owner is dead.
I was
like,
sadder.
That is so sad.
I was sadder when they were in the truck and it was going under.
Right.
I mean, it's not.
That was really sad too.
Yeah, it's not like they're gonna let them die.
Yeah,
but
that's just-
still, it's
Inception
just
was
like,
Inception. Right?
Oh.
what?
It was like Inception.
What?
It was the same kind of scene, right? They were like in the water.
I don't remember that.
In Inception.
I've never seen it.
Oh, I've seen it, but just not in a while.
Oh,
What?
okay. Because there's like a scene where there's like one of these cash trucks that's like falling into
Oh.
the water, right?
Yeah.
Off the
yeah.
bridge.
I know.
I
what you're
saw it
talking-
like years ago.
Yeah, I saw it a long time ago. Fun fact about that movie, though, I saw Inception for the first time when it was originally in theaters, but the cinematographer of that movie, I think his name was Wally Feister, I think. He came to my high school and we watched Inception but turned the volume down, and he did like a shot by shot analysis of like how he achieved each scene basically, and like where each scene was shot, and it was like shot in so many different countries, and in like one scene it'll be like 4 different countries to like make up this like one part of the movie, and it was insane. But I think I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah. But Secret Life of Pets. I thought it was gonna suck when I first saw it at the store, and I was like, "What the hell is this shit?" And my girlfriend wanted to see it real bad, and after I saw the damn white bunny, that's it. I was like, okay.
I was nervous when it showed like the production company and there were like a bunch of little minions jumping around. I was like, shit, this is gonna suck. And then it didn't, thank God. But
What else did you watch?
Yeah, I saw a few other. Actually, I saw a lot of other movies this week, but I'm only going to talk about a couple of them. I saw Jackie last night, the new Natalie Portman movie where she plays Jackie O, and it was so well acted. Like, that was some of the best acting I think I've seen in a very long time, and it was amazing. And it was also just like a very beautiful looking movie. They did a really good job showing the parallels of her, like, showing off the White House and doing like a TV special and showing like how happy she was and how like nervous she was to like portray herself to the country versus her husband freshly being assassinated. And it even shows, because in real life it's like a thing that when JFK got shot, there's like video footage of her just like reaching back and like picking up pieces of his head off of the trunk of the car. And I mean, like showing that and like showing her just like wiping the blood off her face afterwards. It was just like it was just very intense to watch, and they did a really good job of it. And I'm also really glad that the movie was less than 2 hours long, because I feel like it would have just dragged out and been like unnecessary after that point. But it was really, really good. I also rewatched the movie Sleeping Beauty, which is not the Disney fairy tale. It's this movie that was made in 2011, and it's actually the first movie that I watched illegally, which is pretty crazy, because I have this like super big girl crush on this actress named Emily Browning. I don't know if either of you know her. Yeah, she's in a lot of stuff. The first movie I ever saw her in was the first series of Unfortunate Events movie that came out. She played Violet, and ever since then I've just been like, how is that girl doing? What is she doing now? So I came across Sleeping Beauty originally when I was like 15 years old on her IMDb page, and it was a very weird movie, and I had completely forgotten about it until I was scrolling through Netflix a couple nights ago, and I saw it on there, and it's just been like on my mind, so I was like, I should rewatch this. And it was really unsettling and really, really like queasy to watch, because it's about this girl who's like she's like in college and trying to pay for college and like pay for her rent, and she works a bunch of odd jobs. But she also, like, she comes across a job opportunity as like a quote unquote sleeping beauty, where she is sedated, and men can go in the room and like in the bed with her and basically do whatever they want except for like penetration. And it's so weird, because like there's scenes where you see what the like, and like all the men in it too are like very old and like rich, like very, very rich. She's getting paid like $250 an hour for like a night of doing this. And they're all very, very rich, and like they do some like weird shit to her, and it shows everything. But also, before, I would say there's like 3 scenes with 3 different men of them like doing whatever to her, and then before each of them does whatever they're about to do, they're like sitting with like her boss on like the edge of the bed while she's like asleep in the background, and they just have this like monologue of like how like they're broken inside and all this stuff. And I'm just kind of like, I don't feel bad for you. Like, this is really gross. You're a gross person. I don't really want to know what you're thinking. I don't know. I really love Emily Browning. She's usually like the saving grace of whatever she's in, but a lot of that movie just like doesn't like make sense. It was very like beautiful looking, but there was also a lot of just like, she has an ongoing relationship with this guy in the film, but it's never like acknowledge how they actually know each other. And apparently he's like sick, but they don't talk about it, or like I don't even think they say his name, but like there's multiple scenes with him in the movie, and I'm like, this is cool, but like who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
I don't know if I would recommend it, but it's definitely a movie that you watch and have like a lot of thoughts about afterwards. So left an impression for sure. I also watched Holiday in the Sun, which is a Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen movie, and it's filmed in the Bahamas. And it's awesome. It's actually like one of the worst movies I've ever seen. It was so bad. There's like a scene where like one of them is on a date with this guy, and he like works at like whatever resort they're staying at, and he's like cutting up like fish bait for whatever he's about to do, like whatever like snorkeling shit, I don't know. But there's like a montage of them like having fun, but they're also like cutting up actual fish, and it like shows them cutting the fish, and it's like disgusting.
Fish are gross.
And I'm like,
but delicious.
I'm like, this is like kind of a kids movie. I don't know. Also, it's Megan Fox's very first movie, and she's like the typecast bitch, of course, because that's like all her career was in the beginning of it. But there's a really, really good montage of her like standing around a club, even though she's supposed to be like 15 years old. And she's like standing around a club, and like guys are like walking up to her, and she's like, I don't think so. And she just like keeps like rejecting all these boys. That was like definitely the best part of the movie. I wish I had like 10 hours of that on DVD. Yeah, other than that, I saw Manchester by the Sea. Didn't really like it that much. I thought it was well acted, but I just didn't really like it. I thought it was like way too long, and also all the men in it were like assholes, except for the one that died.
He was too busy being dead
Yeah,
to be an asshole.
yeah, too busy being dead to offend me, I guess. But yeah, I know a movie we all watched though that we're going to be talking about for the rest of this episode.
What is it?
Don't Breathe.
Oh.
So Dave, this was your first time seeing Don't Breathe, right?
Yes, I watched it twice this week. I watched it once straight up, and then I watched it. I haven't done this in a while, but I listened to the director's commentary. It was interesting to hear some of the thoughts of the director, and especially the guy that played the blind man. He had these contacts in that pretty much obstructed 70% of his vision, so that's hard, especially with the way that the house was situated. And that's one of the first notes that I have, is that the house it's a trap, essentially, designed to trap the intruders. It's not just a trap, it's his world. Like, this is where he exists. He goes outside every once in a while to walk his dog, but for the most part, this is his domain. He knows every inch of it, the way that he gets around the house. Being blind, he has the advantage when he turns off the light and nobody else can see. Like, he's in constant darkness, so he knows exactly where to get to places, how to get there, and shortcuts. So when I first saw it, there were a couple things that there were 2 jump scares, and I'm not a fan of those. But they were used in a way, they were front loaded. So the first thing was with the dog, when they're sitting in the car staking out the joint, and the dog just comes up and jumps at the window. I saw that, and I was like, oh, strike one. And then when the second part, or after the blind guy kills Money, Rocky and Alex are in the room, and he's going with the gun and just kind of going across the whole room, and then Money's cell phone goes off, and he just shoots at it. The jump scare there. It's fairly on, early on in the movie. I think Money dies at about the half-hour point of the movie. So the 2 jump scares take place in the first third of the film, and there's no more really after that. Which I thought it was cool that they kind of set it up to how there was going to be jump scares, so you expected them, and then when it was quiet, you don't really hear. There's no more jump scares after that. After that, it's more suspense than it is like cheap. Ha ha!
Yeah.
That
It's definitely more suspense after. I would say after Money dies is like the pivotal point where it's just like constant like suspense and like intensity, where it's just like a cat and mouse chase with all of these people. I really enjoy this movie. This was actually my 3rd time watching it. The first time was actually in the theaters, and it was a really fun environment to be in because the theater was packed. Everyone was very reactionary to everything that was going on, which made it kind of made me relax a little bit because this movie is very stressful to watch,
right, especially
towards the end. But people were just freaking out, so it kind of made me laugh it off and feel better. There was one part of the movie. And this is actually about to lead into a question that I want to ask the both of you. There was one part of the movie that I really didn't think was that necessary, and that was the whole situation with him having the girl held hostage, and then him holding Rocky hostage and trying to impregnate her. It was really cool to see him literally get a taste of his own medicine and have that completely backfire on him, and I'm really glad that happened. But I really didn't think it was necessary, even though it was it obviously was an added layer to this person that we don't really know a lot about, and it was character development, and it also added to the fact that every person in the movie pretty much were they were all anti-heroes and people that aren't very good, and there's definitely just a lack of morality on both sides here. So something I want to ask both of you is, who were you rooting for the most?
Honestly, it changed throughout the film, and that was one of the things that I thought was pretty interesting about that. it starts off as a perspective from the three, breaking and entering characters, and you just kind of see like what they are. I mean, I thought from the beginning, Money very unlikable. Rocky was just kind of like and Alex is the only one that shows kind of a little bit of a moral compass. And then when you see that the blind man is when he wakes up when Money is in his room, I think that is when you first really kind of see him, and you kind of wonder. Well, you see him outside, but in his domain. So yeah, that's the first time you see him in his environment or in his world, as I was saying before, and he's vulnerable. So you kind of feel sorry for him, and as the movie goes on, you find out that he's not an easy target, and he even has a dark side. So you want the guys to get away, but you also, they're all kind of sympathetic. The blind man has, he's blinded by a grenade. He lost his daughter. He's confined to this. I mean, his house is technically a prison. He's got bars on the windows. The doors have thousands of locks. And then with Rocky, you also see like, all right, well, she's got just a shitbag boyfriend, but her upbringing when she's with her family, those guys just, the guy with the swastika on his hand and
a shitty mom.
Yeah, and she does have the sympathy of, like, she has the moral compass too when she wants to take her sister and just get away from this, and that's ultimately what her goal was for this. With this score, is to get out of there. This is the last one. She wants to take her sister and just extract her from this terrible situation. So I guess I would be rooting for the dog, because dogs are awesome.
I gotta say, this movie was the first time that I was genuinely terrified of a dog in any movie ever, I think.
Yeah, there's that scene where the dog's in the ventilation shaft. And...
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That dog deserves an Oscar.
Well, that was one of the things that the director was saying, is that he did another movie where there was a dog, and the dog just would not do anything at all that he wanted him to do. He didn't take direction very well. But the dogs that they had for this dog were all just great. He said that just the dog would do things subtly that they would just keep in the film because it's, it stuck with the dog's kind of character, and it gave him its own sort of personality. But yeah, the dog. Go dog.
Go dog. For real. What about you? Oh.
You don't find out about his daughter till...
Yeah, you don't find out anything
right?
about that until the hostage girl.
Right.
Because up until that point, I was rooting for the dude, because I was like, these kids are breaking in, they deserve to get their asses kicked.
Yeah.
And when I found out he had that poor girl, I was like, oh, I don't know about this anymore.
It's like that she died too. I was like, damn, she was so
die again.
When they were going up the stairs to get out at the basement, he knew that they only had one way to get out, and they probably weren't going to go up through the house. So he, knowing his house, was like, they're probably going to come out the back door, or he like puts the dog in the house because the dog was outside, passed out from the medicine. So he takes the dog, puts the dog in the house, and then just sits outside with a gun and waits for them to come out. And when Alex opens the door, he shoots, it grazes his ear, and goes through the girl's face, and she dies. So.
Wait, so you were rooting for the guy? Okay, so I was about to ask you the same
well,
question
the thing
again.
is like the heroes and villains change throughout the whole movie.
Yeah. And I mean, that's very, very intentionally done. So I just wanted to hear like what you guys thought about it. The first time I was watching it, I was rooting for Alex.
Yeah.
I think.
He seems like out of all the characters, he's the one who would be the best as far as decent person. He's still a fucking thief, burglar, but, I think out of all of them, he's probably got his heart in the right place, mostly.
Yeah.
But still, again, he's a thief.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, he's a thief. That's established he's a thief, but it's kind of a thing where it kind of seemed like he was being taken advantage of by Money and Rocky.
Yeah.
What a couple name. Wow, that's like a really
I do think
set of names
that Rocky kind of knew that he had a little bit of a crush on him. But it's not something that's really talked about.
I don't think that's something that she really messed with, but it's something that Money was teasing her about. I mean, teasing him about in front of her.
Right.
At
Oh
a
yeah,
certain point.
he did.
But do you think she realized it? Like, when he got killed? Like, oh shit, this dude really is a team player? He stuck
Maybe.
beside me?
Maybe, yeah.
He
but
did. He was completely out.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
he was over the fence, gone.
Yeah.
And he went back to save her.
Yeah.
So I think he could have just cut his losses and be like, well, I didn't want to do this.
God, the
You know.
scene where he is like on the glass.
Yes.
Whew, man,
Yeah.
that was so stressful. I was like, please live, and then he fucking fell.
Well, he didn't fall. The dude popped out a window at the top and shot through the glass, and he fell through. But it seemed like he was going to fall through, just with all the cracks, and like every time he moved, you could tell it's fucking glass. That shit breaks.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Especially with your fat thieving ass falling through it.
Fucking thief.
Fucking thief!
Probably my favorite part of it was, actually two favorite things, was the pitch black sequence in the basement.
Yes. Yeah, the
That
black
was
and white.
Fucking awesome.
The one thing that I noticed about that, and the director mentioned it afterwards, was everything was black and white, but when there was gunfire, the light from the gun turned everything color just for a brief flash. So it was telling, this is darkness. I mean, obviously it was, but I thought the little flash of color was a really nice touch.
Yeah, a lot of things about the editing of that movie, especially the second thing I was gonna say, my second favorite thing about the movie was the sound editing and the use of silence, as to add to all the terror that was going on, just because obviously they were in situations where they would have to hold their breath to keep quiet,
right.
Hence the title, Don't Breathe, haha, get it? But it was when they were silent, the viewer, you, as the viewer, you wanted to be silent too, just
right.
because you felt like you were about to get fucking shot or whatever. And yeah, no, it was awesome.
Yeah, the best part of that scene though was when he's pointing a gun down the hallway and Rocky is walking right towards him, and she gets maybe an inch away from him, and he just fires the gun 90 degrees away from her towards Alex, who just, I guess, happened to make a move.
I was actually just talking about that with Edwin, because when I saw that in the theaters, like I said before, everyone in the crowd was super
right.
reactionary, but the whole theater was completely silent at that point. And when she was reaching her hand out and became so close to touching him, there was a woman in the back of the theater who was like, "Oh my god, is she about to touch him?" And I just completely lost my shit. Did you watch it with your girlfriend?
Yeah, she was watching it. I was in the living room, probably rolling something.
Nice.
So I walk in, I'm like, "What the hell are you watching?" And she told me, "Don't breathe." And because I told her, I said, "Amanda said don't breathe." So she's watching it, and I was like, "All right, let me check this out." And that's when it all happened. It got me hooked, and I was terrified when I saw that poor girl. I don't want to say poor girl because she killed his daughter. So,
but she didn't do it on purpose.
Yeah.
I mean, again, we talked about Old Boy last week, and that's another thing where the repercussions do not match the action at all.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's, again, it's people that have been wronged and they feel as though they need to not show somebody, "Hey, I was wrong." They need to stomp that person into the fucking ground and just, humiliate them, even though it's their own fault. I mean, well, at least in Old Boy, it was kind of the guy's fault, but ultimately, that dude shouldn't have been fucking his sister. Or trying to. You never really know. But anyway, that's another story. We talked about that last week, so it's done.
Forget about it.
Yeah. Fuck last week. It's all about now. So, there were two quotes that stuck with me in this movie. The first one was from Money, and it kind of set the tone for what was going to happen. When they're in the car and they're watching him, and they're like, "He's a blind man, we're going to rob him." And Money says, just because he's blind doesn't mean he's a saint. And as soon as I heard him say that, I'm like, all right, there's more to this guy than just...
Boy, was he right.
Yes. And the second thing is a quote from The Blind Man. It's when he has Rocky tied up and he says, there's nothing a man cannot do once he accepts the fact that there is no God. And that right there just shows that he's beyond any sort of, like, they can't do anything to him physically that he hasn't already endured worse. He's lost his sight, he's lost his daughter, he's confined to his house. He leads a sad life, but he also, the most important thing to him, I think, is security. Once he has his new daughter, I think that the locks will come off the house. I don't know if he planned to kill that girl or if he just planned to let her go afterwards.
He planned to let her go because...
Well, he said that, but he also had that thing in the floor where he just filled up a barrel full of tar and dropped her in there after she died. Like, it was very... Like, he knew what he was doing. He had contingency plans for it. So I don't really know if it was a contingency plan or if that was the end game, where it's like, I have a daughter, this girl's missing for however long she was missing, and then I just let her out into the world. There's a really good chance she's going to go to the police.
Yeah.
So I think his end game with her was to tell her, this is the deal, I will let you go afterwards, you've wronged me, and then he was just going to kill her anyway. So at least that's what I think. Because just that quote where he says there's nothing he can't do, you know, because he doesn't have any fear of any repercussion. Again, the worst shit has already happened to him, and then he gets a turkey baster full of his own jizz in his face. That's
down his
not fun.
fucking throat.
Yeah. And that scene, according to the commentary, that was Rocky, the actress who played her. That was her idea. It wasn't in the script.
Oh, nice.
And they were like, I don't know if he's going to go for it. And they went to him and were like, you know, they had all these, like, things kind of, you know, as contingency plans for him if he was like, nah, I'm not going to do that. And he was like, oh, yeah, that's fine. That's cool.
So that quote
Yes.
that you just said during that whole scene where he has Rocky tied up and everything, that didn't really hit me as hard the first time I was watching it. It definitely took a second and a third time of watching it for that quote to really like affect me and kind of be like, this is a very like thematic part of the movie. But it was also because the first time I was watching it, I was so thrown by like a little bit of hypocrisy of like just a line that like I don't think should have been in the movie at all, where he's like, I'm not a rapist, and pulls out the turkey baster, and he's like gonna penetrate and impregnate
her
against her will. And I'm like, okay, well, what are you then? And
well, that's one thing about really good villains, is that in their mind they think they're justified.
Yeah.
They're not the bad guy. They're, you know, just they're getting back what's been taken from them.
Right.
You know, so they're just basically righting a wrong, even though they're not viewing their actions as the worst possible thing that you can do to another human being. So I mean, he just doesn't. I'm not making excuses for him at all, but
Dave sympathizes with the blind guy.
I mean, he's a very sympathetic character. Not for that part, obviously. That part makes him more deplorable than anything. But in his mind, he doesn't see what's actually wrong with it, and he's justified in his mind. Which, again, I'm not condoning that. Just want to make that clear. But yeah.
So I forget, Edwin, are you a horror fan in general?
It's a little complicated because I don't really watch movies as much as I used to. So now when I watch horror, it's like I find the horror movies, they're corny. I like the old school ones. I felt like they used to freak me out a lot more back in the day. But yeah, with Don't Breathe, I don't know. I couldn't help but think about poor women that are in these situations. I had thought about my girlfriend. I was like, oh my God, what if that happened to her? I would kill this bastard. I would shove the turkey baster down his throat too, you know. But I thought the movie did a good job of like sucking me in. I was feeling the terror, the darkness.
It did a really great job of being like non-stop, especially through the end.
Yeah, there's no real breaks. Like every time you think, oh, they're safe. No, it's either
Fuck
the one thing that I have on here, fucking ladybug. Oh, like I knew, like she got that tattoo. There was a ladybug. Oh, and then like once shit happens, oh, there's another ladybug and whatever. Fuck ladybugs.
Like I think if this movie was made in the 80s, maybe it would have been a little scarier, right?
Yeah.
Like these teenagers, they come into this home and then it's like you see satanic shit or like just dark shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Another thing that I like, and it happens in every horror movie where the girl, Rocky, is out of the house and she turns around and yells, "You're useless out here." It's like, fucking run.
yeah, just keep
Like,
running.
you
And then she
don't
immediately
gloat.
eats her words.
Yeah.
Because the dog
Here
comes
comes-
running.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. The whole
And-
thing with inside the car
Mm.
and like not letting the dog get too close with her or to her rather,
Mm.
and oh my god, that fucking dog.
Yeah. Go dog.
Yeah, go dog for real. Yeah, I think that in general I have been gravitating more towards like home invasion horror movies.
Mhm.
They're realistic and fucked up, just
Yeah.
like me. And
You are realistic.
thank you. Yeah, so I don't know. They definitely scare me more just because I'm like, what the fuck would I do if this were to ever happen to me besides cry like a little bitch?
That's why you gotta have weapons in every room of your house,
Yeah.
especially the bathroom, because that's when they strike. You're
Oh my
vulnerable.
goodness.
So one thing that kind of it sat with me for a minute after I watched the movie was the placement of the safe. The safe was 5 feet away from the front door, and the more I thought about it, the money wasn't what was important to him. It was nice of him to have, or nice for him to have, but he didn't really go out. I mean, obviously he's got to buy groceries and stuff like that, but he didn't really go out. I'm assuming that he owned his house. With that kind of settlement money, you just pay it off, and then, whatever other money you have, that's, petty cash, party. Woo! So the money didn't really mean that much to him as much as his daughter's replacement. Because, like I said, the money was, it wasn't in his room, it wasn't in any of the places that would make sense for it to hide. It was right there. You walk in, and it's a straight shot right to this locked, bolted door that is clearly, there's something in there. It's not, it's a little closet. But then the more I thought about it, the reason it was right there was so if anybody did break in, they would see that, and they would just bust right out, or it didn't give them a chance to snoop around and discover the lady that he had hostage in the basement. So it seems
like
he had things plotted out. He was very methodical in the layout of his house and where things were. I just thought that was the coolest part about it, was just how that was thought out like that. Where, if I were ever to have any sort of big amount of money in my house, which I don't have any money at all.
Money, sponsor us.
Yeah, just come on, money. Give us that money.
U.S. currency.
Yeah. Come on, Treasury. Print us some shit. But yeah, I think that was the most important thing to him, was his daughter's replacement over the money, which is why it was so easy to get. And then, the same code on both of those things, I thought was, mix it up a little bit, dude. Come on.
Yeah, it was very clear that, like, once he realized that there were people in the basement, he was like, fuck.
Yeah, like
this
that's
is not
when...
good.
Well, another thing is that I don't know when he actually realized that there was a woman in the house.
Right.
Like, I didn't pay attention to that. Like, it could have been as early as when he found out there were shoes.
He probably smelled her.
He probably did. I guess he would rely more on his other senses. Mm-hmm. So I guess his human nose is pretty powerful as far as like recognizing scents and things like that. We just ignore it because for the most part we rely on visuals.
But anyway, it was the same guy who did the Evil Dead remake, which I was a fan of, and I was a fan of the Evil Dead remake. I had actually seen the remake before I saw the originals.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that was like my first impression of it, and it's crazy that the remake definitely takes on a more like serious tone. Like it's still absolutely ridiculous, like gore wise and everything,
But yeah, Bruce Campbell is just so like
outrageous.
whimsical with his.
Yeah.
He's a great like facial comedy actor. He's great.
Yeah,
with that
they
stuff.
definitely took like a definitely more ominous tone where the lead actress, which is actually the same lead actress as she's Rocky in No Breed. She's the main character in this one too, and she's like a recovering drug addict and all this stuff too. Yeah, so I was a fan of that, and I was definitely pleased to hear that they were working together again. I feel like they obviously worked like well together because both movies must have been very taxing as an actress.
Yeah, I'm sure.
To be a part of, so
well, not just as an actress. I mean, I'm sure one thing that the blind man, when he was dragging her up the road, he said that took 3 takes, and at the third one he was like, I'm done. Having to drag 100 pounds, multiple times up a road can't be fun.
Oh yeah, I mean physically for everyone involved, but
I'm sure she didn't have a great time.
Yeah, no, I mean like from a female perspective, like being fucking bound up with like being like threatened with a turkey baster full of cum
and hair.
Oh yeah, great, awesome. And then in Evil Dead, she gets like fucked by like a demon vine, so I'm like, this is great.
Yeah.
I'm like, I bet she had a lot of fun. Even though I would love to be in a horror movie, but I don't think I would like either of those things.
Yeah.
So who would you recast in this movie, and if you can come up with it, who would you actually recast them with?
I think the easy target is money. Just fucking cast Riff Raff. You might as well.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah.
I can't believe you just said that. I was literally just thinking that. Oh my god. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Fuck.
That sounds perfect.
I mean, right there. Yeah. You're welcome.
Or wait, Riff Raff or James Franco as Riff Raff?
No, Riff Raff.
Yeah, that's my vote too.
Yeah.
Like James Franco. Sorry.
Aquaberry.
Who would I recast? I'm leaving Rocky alone because I love her.
Yeah. I could also see the guy who played Alex recast with Miles Teller.
I was going to go for Alex, but I was going to go with Logan Lerman. I don't know if you know who he is. He kind of looks similar. He was in a lot of like my childhood movies, specifically the movie Hoot. But he's a good one.
Yeah. Another thing that I wrote down about money is that he's the kind of guy who, if you're going to have a crew of burglars, he's the one that's going to get you caught. Because when they break into the first house, he's pissing all over the house. Like, he didn't break in to steal stuff. He broke in to just be a fucking dummy. And pissing all over the house and leaving DNA everywhere is not... Hey, get away with shit. So, money... Dumbass.
Yeah, money sucked.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad he was in it. I think it was still like good that he was in the movie.
Yeah, they needed that third character to
fucking die.
Yeah, they needed him to be the red shirt, essentially.
Would you recast anyone?
Maybe the old dude. I don't know, because he just doesn't seem like an old dude. He seemed like he was buff.
Yeah, he was pretty spry. Yeah.
Maybe it would work better with like a younger actor. Because, I mean, you're that old. I don't think you're going to have a sperm bank
well,
like
I think
he had.
That, well, I mean, that was a lot. Like, he was busy, and that's probably why he's so buff.
Yeah. I mean, I also think that him being old kind of added to, like, them thinking that it was going to be an easy target and everything.
Easy mark, blind, old man would probably be, they're like, oh, we're in and out, we're done. You would think that with his whole background as far as being in the military, they would at least kind of keep that in the back of their head. But again, first of all, when you're a criminal, when you're petty like that, you're probably not the brain power to think about oh, these are some of the repercussions that could happen if we break into a guy's house who's been in the military and has been in Iraq and has seen shit. These guys don't think about that. They're still small fish, so they're not really the seasoned pros that would think like, oh, let's not fuck with this guy, even though he seems like an easy mark. When they saw that his house was that protected and boarded up and hard to get into, like that right there should have raised a couple flags with him. So I don't know if they really have the brains to do this. I think this might be something that they've just kind of dabbled in to kind of get their thrills. I don't know if they're career criminals or if this is the kind of thing that they, planned on doing for a while, or if it's something that, they're just in it for the fun. But yeah, the big question is, though, did she leave her shoes there at the end? I think she did, because...
I think she may have.
So he's going to sniff her out in California.
Uh-oh.
Sequel.
Oh, I also... This is, probably the last thing I have to say about it, because it's about the ending of the movie. I like how he didn't report them at the end, because he easily would have fucked himself over.
Oh, yeah.
At the end when she was, watching the news, and there was, no one, no suspects, or I forget what exactly.
Well, one thing that she said earlier before was he's buying our silence.
Right.
And it's kind of true. I think he knew that there was a really good chance that he wasn't going to get that money back.
Right.
But he still had the thing that meant the most to him.
Yeah, I think it just adds to the whole lack of morality theme that's present for literally the entire movie. Was there anything else y'all wanted to talk about with this movie?
No, I liked it. It was good. I know there's a lot of, with the new horror movies that are out there, there's a lot of directors and studios feel that a PG-13 rating gets more of an audience, I guess, with teenagers and things like that.
It sells more in the box office.
I thought this one did a good job. I'm not sure if it was rated R or not.
I think it is. I could be wrong, but I think it is.
I mean, honestly, I don't really think that there's that much, other than... Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of profanity.
Jizz thing.
The jizz thing is probably the worst, or at least I think that scene, even with the scissors, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Rated R.
It is? Okay. Well, yay. More rated R movies.
For real?
Teenagers are going to see them anyway. It doesn't matter if, they may not see them in the movies, but they're going to watch them on Netflix or Blu-ray. Just make more movies R. Stop fucking... These kids, they're doing shit that you have no idea. They're kids. What were you doing when you were 13? I don't want to know. Yeah.
Not gonna answer that.
I would tell you what I was doing when I was 13, but it's probably not good to say.
Yeah. Well,
Lots of balled up Kleenexes.
Do you think there will be a sequel?
I would like to think there would be. I don't know if it's going to be with that guy again, because, I mean, she ended up getting the money.
Yeah.
So he doesn't really have anything worthwhile to go in there and get, unless that money was insured, which he may have had renter's insurance or homeowner's insurance. I don't know. It's not really the kind of thing you think about in a horror movie, but he might. I think there could be a sequel. I wouldn't mind seeing one. It could be just a completely different story.
Yeah, that's the only way I would want to see it.
Yeah,
I think if it was completely disconnected, but I would want it to be by the same director.
Yeah, but if say Rocky decides to do another thing in California where it's, just one more, no, I don't think that would work as well as completely different story, but.
Don't Breathe 2.
Yeah.
The Resurrection of Money.
Featuring Riff Raff.
Yeah, great.
All right, well, thank you guys for listening to our podcast. Amanda has all of the social media things memorized. And
Yep. If you like what you've been hearing, make sure you check us out on social media. We are on Instagram at Filmspeak, Twitter at FilmspeakPod. We have a YouTube channel called Filmspeak Podcast.
I thought she had it memorized.
Shh. And then we have a Facebook page. It's just Filmspeak Podcast as well. Also, feel free to leave comments or give us any feedback or just send us a message to talk about what movies you've been watching or any movies you would like us to talk about. We really do want to interact with any listeners that are present and here. So it would be really, really cool to start doing something like that.
And if you leave us questions, we may answer them live on air.
Oh, yeah. That would be cool. I would be into that.
And you will be immortalized in Filmspeak history. That would be a good place to do a vocal effect.
Okay.
Yeah. Edwin,
But,
do you have anything you would like to promote?
Not really. Not yet. But
All right.
soon.
We will.
There might be a mixtape coming.
Everybody, keep your eyes and ears and wallets ready.
Yeah. Very big thank you to Edwin for guest spotting.
Yeah.
Normally we would have Ridley here with us as well, but he couldn't make it tonight. But we're very, very happy to finally have our first guest here. So
Thanks for having me.
And Adam will be back next week, and it's his turn to pick a movie. So, woohoo! Go, Adam.
All right. Well, bye, y'all. I hope you have a good day.